The city square buzzed with its usual chaos. Vendors shouting, children playing, car horns blaring. It was an ordinary Tuesday afternoon, until a sleek black Mercedes pulled up to the curb. The door opened, and out stepped Veronica Hayes, Billionaire CEO, her designer heels clicking against the cobblestones. Heads turned, cameras flashed, whispers rippled through the crowd like wildfire. Is that Veronica Hayes? The Veronica Hayes? What's she doing here? This isn't exactly Fifth Avenue. Veronica walked through the parting crowd with purpose, her eyes fixed on a figure sitting against the fountain, a homeless man with graying hair, weathered skin, and clothes that had seen better years. His name was David. The paparazzi swarmed, cameras clicked furiously. Miss Hayes, what brings you to the square today? Is this a charity stunt? A new initiative? But Veronica ignored them all. She stopped directly in front of David, who looked up at her with tired but gentle eyes. And then, in front of hundreds of people, cameras, and the entire world watching, she knelt down on one knee. The crowd gasped. Someone dropped their coffee cup. It shattered on the ground, but no one noticed. Is she doing what I think she's doing? She's finally lost it. The stress got to her. Veronica spoke steadily. David, I've watched you. I've seen who you really are. And I'm here to ask you something that might sound insane to everyone here. She reached into her jacket pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. The crowd erupted. She's proposing to a homeless man. Someone called the news. This is a joke, right? Some kind of reality show? Veronica ignored them all, her eyes never leaving David's face. David, will you marry me? Silence fell like a heavy curtain. David stared at her, his eyes searching hers for mockery, for cameras, for the punchline, but he found none, only sincerity. His voice was raspy but firm when he spoke. Why me? 2 simple words, but they carried the weight of 1,000 questions. Why him? Why a man society had discarded? Why someone with nothing to offer but the clothes on his back? Veronica smiled, a real smile, not the practiced one from boardroom meetings. Because you have everything that matters. But to answer that properly, I need to tell you a story. Actually, I need to tell them a story. She gestured to the crowd, to the cameras, to the world watching. The story of who you really are, and why you're the only man I'd ever want as a father to my children. The crowd pressed closer. David's eyes widened, and as Veronica began to speak, the city square transformed into a theater, and everyone was about to hear a story they'd never forget. Veronica's voice carried across the square, steady and clear. 5 years ago, David wasn't sitting on these streets. He was sitting in a corner office on the 47th floor of the Sterling Tower. He was David Morrison, founder and CEO of Morrison Technologies, a company worth $300 million. The crowd murmured. Some pulled out their phones, searching for the name. Recognition dawned on several faces. Morrison Technologies? That company collapsed, 4 years ago? Yes, it did. But let me tell you how. The scene shifted in everyone's imagination as Veronica painted the picture. David Morrison's office overlooked the entire city. Glass walls, mahogany desk, awards lining the shelves. He was on the phone, smiling. Sarah, honey, I'll be home by 6. Tell the kids Daddy's bringing pizza, the good kind, from Angelo's. Yes, extra cheese for Tommy. I remember. He hung up and turned to face his business partner and best friend of 15 years, Marcus Chen, who stood by the window. The Singapore deal closed, David. We're officially international. We did it. We did it. I couldn't have built this without you, brother." They shook hands, brothers in arms, or so David thought. But what David didn't know was that Marcus had been meeting with their biggest competitor for months. In boardrooms David never entered. Making deals David never saw. 3 months later, everything collapsed. It started with a phone call. "What do you mean the accounts are frozen? Marcus, get in here." But Marcus didn't come. Marcus had disappeared. And with him went $30 million, client contracts, proprietary technology, and every single executive David trusted. David's lawyer delivered the devastating news over the phone. "David, you need to understand. Marcus filed documents showing you authorized these transfers. Your signature is on everything. The authorities think you're involved in the fraud." "What? That's impossible. I never—" "It doesn't matter what you did or didn't do. The evidence says otherwise. The board voted you out this morning. The company's being liquidated to cover the losses. And David, there's a warrant for your arrest." The phone slipped from David's hand. The trial was a media circus. Marcus had vanished to a country without extradition. David fought with everything he had, but the evidence, forged, planted, fabricated, was overwhelming. The judge's voice was cold and final. "David Morrison, you are acquitted of criminal charges due to lack of direct evidence, but you are found liable in civil court. All assets are to be seized to compensate the victims of this fraud." David walked out of that courtroom, a free man, but he'd lost everything. The house, gone. The cars, gone. His reputation, destroyed. But the worst was yet to come. He returned to his family's apartment. They'd already been forced to downsize. He opened the door to find Sarah sitting at the kitchen table, her face buried in her hands. His 2 children, Tommy and Lisa, stood behind her. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. I swear to you, I didn't do what they said. We'll rebuild. I'll find work. Sarah didn't look up when she spoke. "I can't do this anymore, David." Those 6 words shattered what was left of his heart. "Sarah, please, we've been together for 12 years. You know me. You know I'd never—" She stood, finally meeting his eyes. "I don't know you. I thought I did. But the man I married wouldn't have let this happen to us. My parents were right about you. You were always too trusting, too naive for business." Tommy, his 10-year-old son, stood there with tears streaming down his face. "Dad, is it true? Did you really steal money?" David knelt down to his son's level, his voice breaking. "No, son. I promise you. I didn't. Someone I trusted betrayed me, but I'll prove—" Sarah cut him off sharply. "Don't make promises you can't keep. The kids and I are moving to my parents' house in Connecticut. You're not coming with us." "You're taking my children?" "I'm protecting them from the media, from the shame, from you." His 7-year-old daughter Lisa began sobbing. "Daddy, don't go." David tried to hug his daughter, but Sarah pulled her away. "Say goodbye to your father, Lisa. We're leaving in an hour." And that's exactly what happened. Within a week, David lost his family, his home, and every friend he thought he had. Phone numbers he'd called 1,000 times suddenly went unanswered. Colleagues crossed the street to avoid him. His own brother refused to let him stay past 3 days. "I've got a family to think about, David. Having you here, it's affecting my business relationships. People are asking questions. I can't afford to be associated with whatever you did." "I didn't do anything, Robert. I'm your brother." He handed him an envelope. "There's $500 in there. It's all I can spare. I'm sorry." The door closed.
David stood in the hallway of his brother's apartment building, holding an envelope in a garbage bag containing everything he owned. Within a month, David was on the streets. The $500 lasted 2 weeks. Then came the harsh reality of homelessness. The cold nights, the hunger, the looks of disgust from people who once shook his hand at galas. But something happened during those dark months. David learned what truly mattered. When you lose everything, you discover what you are without the money, without the title, without the applause. He was stripped down to his bare soul, and he had to ask himself, what kind of man was he really? The answer came slowly, painfully, beautifully. He learned humility from the woman who shared her sandwich with him. He learned resilience from the old man who taught him which dumpsters had better scraps.
Shelters were safe. He learned compassion from watching other people suffering. And most importantly, he learned that character isn't built in boardrooms. It's built in the moments when no one's watching, when you have nothing to gain, when kindness costs you something. Veronica continued her story, and the crowd leaned in closer. Even the cynics had stopped laughing. But David's story doesn't end in despair. It transforms into something beautiful. The streets became David's classroom. He'd found a spot near the public library, a small corner where he could sit with his cardboard sign. But unlike other signs that read, "Homeless, please help," or "Veteran, need food," David's sign said something different. It read, "Free lessons for children, all subjects. No child turned away." At first, people mocked him. "Look at that, a homeless man pretending to be a teacher. What a joke. Probably trying to lure kids. Someone should call the police." But David persisted. He'd salvaged old textbooks from library donation bins, collected scraps of paper, and used broken crayons discarded by the coffee shop nearby. Every afternoon, he'd sit with his materials spread out, waiting. The first child came on a rainy Tuesday, a young boy, maybe 9 years old, with torn shoes and a bruised eye. He stood a few feet away, watching David sketch something on a piece of cardboard. David looked up, smiling gently. "Hello there. Do you like math?" The boy was suspicious. "Math is stupid." But math is magic. Let me show you. What's your name?" "Rico." "Well, Rico, did you know that numbers can help you win at almost any game? Come here, I'll teach you a trick." Rico hesitated, then sat down. Within minutes, David had him calculating odds, solving simple equations, and smiling for the first time in who knows how long. Word spread among the street kids. Within a month, David had 7 regular students. They called him Teacher Man. He taught them math, reading, science, history, but more than that, he taught them that someone cared, that they mattered. One afternoon, a group of older teenagers approached looking for trouble. The bully leader laughed mockingly. "Yo, what's this? Homeless school? That's pathetic." The children tensed. Rico, now confident and protective, stood up. "Leave us alone. Teacher Man is helping us." "Teacher Man? This crazy hobo? Get out of here, kids. This is our corner now." The bully shoved Rico hard. The boy stumbled backwards, about to fall into the street and into oncoming traffic. But David moved faster than anyone expected. He caught Rico, spinning him to safety while taking the full force of the impact himself. David hit the ground hard. His shoulder cracked against the pavement, but Rico was safe. David winced, but smiled through the pain. "I've got you, son. You're okay." The bullies stood there shocked. One of them, the youngest, stepped forward. "Yo, Trey, he protected that kid. He could have been hit by that car." The bully leader shifted uncomfortably. "Whatever, man. Let's go." They left, but the younger bully looked back, something shifting in his eyes. The next day, that same teenager returned, not to bully, but to learn. He brought his little sister. "Yo, Teacher Man, my sister needs help with reading. Can
can you teach her?" David, his arm in a makeshift sling, smiled warmly. "Of course. Sit down. What's her name?" Over the months, David's reputation grew. Not among the wealthy, not among the powerful, but among the people society had forgotten. The street children, the struggling parents, the immigrants who couldn't afford tutoring. A single mother, Maria, brought her twin sons every Tuesday and Thursday. She couldn't pay him, but she'd bring him soup. "Mr. David, my boys, they're getting better grades because of you. The school wants to move them to advanced classes. I never dreamed." "Your boys are brilliant, Maria. They just needed someone to believe in them, like someone once believed in me." But not everyone approved. Some parents complained to the police. 2 officers arrived one afternoon. David stood calmly as they approached. "Sir, we've had complaints. You need to move along." But before David could respond, 15 children surrounded him. Rico stepped forward as their spokesperson. "Officer Jenkins, Teacher Man hasn't done anything wrong. He's helped all of us. I was failing 4th grade before he taught me. Now I'm getting A's."
A little girl, maybe 6 years old, held up a piece of cardboard with Angela carefully printed in crayon. "He taught me my ABCs. I can write my name now. Look." The second officer, younger and clearly moved, whispered to his partner, "Jenkins, maybe we can just let them be? He's not causing any harm. Actually, he's probably doing more good than half the actual teachers." After a long pause, Officer Jenkins spoke. "You kids stay safe, you hear? And you, sir, keep doing what you're doing. The world needs more of it." The officers left. The children cheered. David quietly wiped a tear from his eye because for the first time in years, someone in authority had seen his worth. But the most powerful moment came a few weeks later. The younger bully, who'd brought his sister to learn, his name was Marcus, ironically, approached David after all the children had left. He struggled with the words, "Teacher man, I gotta tell you something. My dad, he's in prison. My mom works 3 jobs. I've been angry my whole life. But watching you, how you treat these kids, how you protect them, how you never ask for nothing." He paused, his voice cracking. "You're more of a father than my real dad ever was. And you ain't even related to none of us. That's gotta mean something, right?" David placed a hand on the teenager's shoulder. "Marcus, being a father has nothing to do with blood. It's about showing up. It's about protecting. It's about believing in someone when the whole world says they're worthless. And son, you are not worthless. None of you are." Marcus broke down crying, years of pain pouring out. David held him, this teenage boy who'd once tried to hurt him, and let him cry. Because that's what fathers do. They show up. They forgive. They love without condition. Veronica's voice grew thick with emotion as she continued. "I wasn't always watching from the shadows. I had my own battles to fight, my own children to protect. But sometimes God puts people in your path for a reason." The crowd was completely silent now. Veronica's vulnerability had broken through every cynical defense. 10 years ago, Veronica Hayes wasn't a billionaire CEO. She was a single mother working 3 jobs, living in a 1-bedroom apartment with her 2 daughters, Emma and Grace. Their father left when Emma was 3 and Grace was barely 1. He said he wasn't ready for the responsibility. He walked out the door, and she never saw him again. No child support, no birthday cards, nothing. Veronica worked as a waitress in the morning, a receptionist in the afternoon, and cleaned offices at night. She'd tuck her girls into bed at 8 in the evening, kiss their foreheads, and head out to scrub toilets until midnight. Young Emma would cry, "Mommy, don't go, please stay." Veronica would kneel, holding back tears. "Baby, I have to work so we can buy food and keep our home. But I promise you, Mommy will always come back, always." And she did, every single night, exhausted, broke, but present.
One night after her cleaning shift, Veronica found a discarded business magazine in the trash. On the cover, 10 women who built empires from nothing. She read every word by flashlight while her daughter slept, and something ignited inside her. She realized she was teaching her girls to survive, but not to thrive. She needed to show them that a woman, especially a single mother, could build something extraordinary, not for revenge, not to prove the world wrong, but to prove to her daughters that they could do anything. Veronica started a cleaning company with $200 and a prayer. She worked harder than anyone, treated her employees like family, and built a reputation for excellence. Within 2 years, she had 50 employees. Within 5 years, she'd expanded into facilities management for major corporations. Within 10 years, Veronica Hayes was a billionaire. But success brought new fears. Emma and Grace, now teenagers, lived in a world of luxury, private schools, designer clothes, expensive cars. She gave them everything she never had. But she realized she might be taking away everything that made her who she was: struggle, resilience, values. One night, during a rare dinner together, Grace made a comment that shattered Veronica. The 15-year-old said dismissively, "Ugh, Mom, can we please not go to that charity gala? Those poor people are so depressing." Emma, 17, agreed. "Seriously? Why do we have to pretend to care? Just write a check and be done with it." Veronica put down her fork slowly. "Girls, I need to tell you something. When I was your age," Grace interrupted on her phone, "Mom, we know. You were poor. You worked hard. You built an empire. We've heard the story 1,000,000 times. Yeah, and we're grateful, but that was then. This is now. We're not like those people." Veronica felt her heart crack. She'd given her daughters everything except the one thing they needed most: a father figure who could teach them character, humility, compassion. She'd tried to be both parents, but she knew there were lessons only a father could teach.
She started looking not for a husband for herself, but for a father for them. She dated wealthy men, successful men, powerful men, but every single one was the same. They wanted a trophy wife. They looked at her daughters as accessories. They cared about appearances, not character. Veronica was losing hope. Maybe there were no good men left. Maybe she'd have to raise her daughters alone and pray they'd eventually learn empathy some other way. Then she saw David. It was a Tuesday afternoon 18 months ago. Veronica was driving through the city after a board meeting. Her driver took an unexpected detour due to traffic, passing through an area she'd never visited, the same square where David sat teaching. "Stop the car." "Ma'am?" "Stop, please." Through the tinted windows, Veronica watched as David patiently helped a young girl sound out words. He was using a tattered book and broken crayons, but his face glowed with purpose. The little girl finally got the word right, butterfly, and David cheered like she just won the Nobel Prize. "Yes, Angela, you did it. You're a reading superstar." Angela beamed. "Really, teacher man? Really, really. I'm so proud of you." Veronica watched as David hugged the little girl, gently, appropriately, like a father would. And then she watched as the girl's mother arrived. "Mr. David, thank you so much. I brought you some stew. It's not much, but it's everything. Thank you, Patricia. How are you doing? Is your boss still giving you trouble about your schedule?" They talked for 10 minutes. David knew her struggles, her hopes, her dreams. He cared. Veronica sat in her luxury car and wept because she'd just witnessed something she'd been searching for everywhere: true compassion, real fatherhood, character that money couldn't buy. She came back the next day and the next, always watching from a distance. She saw David break fights. She saw him share his meager food with hungrier people. She saw him protect a teenage boy from police harassment simply by speaking calmly and respectfully. She watched him for 6 months before she finally approached him. "Excuse me, I've been watching you teach these children." David was startled but kind. "Oh, I hope I haven't caused any trouble. I'm just trying to help where I can." Trouble? No, quite the opposite. I'm Veronica. I'm a mother. Nice to meet you, Veronica. I'm David. Are you looking for tutoring for your children? Actually, I am, but not the kind you're thinking. They talked for 2 hours. Veronica told him about her daughters, about her fears, about her search for a man who could teach them what she couldn't. David listened, really listened, asking thoughtful questions, offering gentle insights. Veronica, children don't need perfect parents, they need present parents. Parents who show them that failure doesn't define you, that kindness is strength, that the measure of a person has nothing to do with their bank account. Veronica asked quietly, "Where did you learn that?" David smiled sadly. By losing everything that didn't matter and discovering what did. Veronica drove home that night knowing something profound had shifted. Over the next year, she visited David regularly, sometimes alone, sometimes with her daughters, though she never told them his story. She watched her daughters' eyes open to a world beyond their privilege. After the 3rd visit, Emma said, "Mom, that man, David, he's really smart. Why is he homeless?" Life is complicated, honey. Sometimes good people face bad circumstances. But character isn't about what happens to you. It's about how you respond. Grace added thoughtfully, "He seems happier than most rich people I know." The lesson was sinking in. After a year of watching, learning, and falling deeply in love, not with David's appearance or status, but with his soul, Veronica made her decision. She wanted him to be the father her daughters needed, the husband she'd been searching for, not despite his poverty, but because of everything his poverty had revealed about his character. People thought she was crazy. Her board member said she was having a breakdown. Her mother said she was throwing her life away. But for the first time in years, she knew exactly what she was doing. She was choosing character over comfort, soul over status, love over luxury.
And that's what brought her to this moment, kneeling in the square, in front of the cameras, in front of the world. Back in the present, Veronica finished her story. The crowd stood in stunned silence. Some people were crying. Even the paparazzi had lowered their cameras. Veronica turned back to David. "So you asked me, why you? Because you're the richest man I've ever met. Not in money, in character, in compassion, in everything that actually matters." But before David could respond, a voice cut through the air. Someone shouted angrily, "This is insane! She's a billionaire! He's a bum! This is a publicity stunt! It has to be!" Another voice joined in. "Lady, you've lost your mind! What about your reputation, your business?" A journalist pushed forward with the microphone. "Miss Hayes, do you expect anyone to believe this isn't staged? You're proposing to a homeless man. Your shareholders will revolt. Your daughters? What will they think?" Veronica stood slowly, still holding David's hand. She turned to face the crowd, her voice steady and powerful. "You see a homeless man. You see rags and dirt and failure. But I see a man who lost everything and chose to give what little he had left to children who needed him. I see a man who was betrayed but refused to become bitter. I see a man who could have blamed the world but instead blessed it." She paused, looking directly at the journalist. "You want to know what my daughters will think? They already know. Emma and Grace, come here, please." The crowd gasped as 2 teenage girls emerged from behind Veronica's car. They walked confidently to their mother's side. Emma addressed the crowd. "I'm Emma Hayes, and Teacher Man, David, has taught me more about life in 6 months than 12 years of private school ever did." Grace added, "I'm Grace, and if my mom is crazy for wanting a father who values people over profit, then I hope I'm crazy too." The girls stood on either side of David, each taking one of his hands. David's eyes filled with tears. "Girls, I don't deserve—" Emma interrupted gently. "Yes, you do. You deserve everything." A small voice piped up from the crowd. Rico pushed forward. "That's right. Teacher Man is the best person in this whole city. He saved my life." One by one, children stepped forward. Angela, the little girl who'd learned to read, Marcus, the former bully, the twins, the teenage girl with the special needs brother David had tutored with infinite patience.
Teacher man taught me to read. Now I read to my baby brother every night. Teacher man showed me I wasn't worthless. Because of him, I'm going to graduate. Teacher man convinced my mom to let me apply to college. No one in my family has ever gone to college. Soon 20 children surrounded David, then 30. Parents joined them, people David had helped in small ways. A kind word, a shared meal, a moment of dignity. Maria, the single mother, spoke up. This man is a saint. Whatever you people think, you're wrong, dead wrong. An elderly woman stepped forward, leaning on their cane. I watch him every day from my window across the square. I've seen him give away his only blanket. I've seen him protect children. I've seen him refuse money unless someone desperately needed help. This man is worth more than all of us combined. The tide was turning. The mockery was fading into admiration. Even some of the hecklers had gone quiet. The journalist, visibly moved, lowered her microphone. I think I need to rewrite my article. Veronica turned back to David. So yes, I'm asking you to marry me. I'm asking you to be a father to my daughters. I'm asking you to teach them what I can't. And I'm asking in front of all these people because I want the world to know what real wealth looks like. The crowd held its breath. David looked at Veronica, at Emma and Grace, at the children surrounding him. Tears streamed down his weathered face. Veronica, I lost my family once. I lost everything. And I swore that if I ever got a second chance, I'd never take it for granted. I'd never let pride or money or status matter more than love. He stood slowly, his joints creaking from years on the streets. But if I'm going to say yes, and believe me, every broken piece of my heart wants to, I need to ask you something first. Anything. David took both of Veronica's hands. The square fell completely silent. Even the traffic seemed to quiet it. David said, I'll marry you, Veronica. I'll be a father to Emma and Grace. But I have one condition.
The crowd leaned in. Cameras zoomed closer. What could a homeless man possibly demand from a billionaire? We raise these girls, and any future children, to understand that their worth has nothing to do with their wealth. That kindness is the highest currency. That serving others isn't something you do with your spare time, it's the purpose of your life. He turned to Emma and Grace. Girls, if I become your father, I won't let you coast on privilege. I'll teach you to work, to struggle, to understand what it means to have nothing so you appreciate everything. I'll make you volunteer in soup kitchens. I'll have you tutoring kids who can't afford what you take for granted. I'll push you to be uncomfortable because that's where character is built. Emma nodded, tears in her eyes. Yes, that's exactly what we need. Grace added, we want that. We want to be better people. David turned back to Veronica. And Veronica, I need you to promise me something. Your wealth, it's a tool, not a trophy. We'll use it to lift others up. We'll live comfortably, yes, but never excessively. Every dollar we spend on luxury is a dollar we're not spending on someone who's hungry, someone who's homeless, someone who needs what we have. Veronica squeezed his hands. I promise. I've been waiting my whole life for someone to help me understand what to do with all this money. You're that person. David took a deep breath. One more thing. The most important thing. He released Veronica's hands and turned to address the entire crowd, his voice growing stronger with conviction. Everyone here, everyone watching this, needs to understand something about raising children. I lost my own kids because I was too focused on building an empire. I gave them things, but not time. Money, but not meaning. I was so busy climbing the ladder of success that I forgot to make sure it was leaning against the right wall. The crowd was transfixed. This wasn't just a proposal anymore. It was a sermon. When everything was stripped away, my company, my money, my reputation,
My children didn't remember the vacations I paid for. They didn't remember the expensive toys. They remembered that I was too busy for their piano recitals, too distracted during dinner, too tired to read them bedtime stories. His voice cracked, but he continued, "Parents, listen to me. Your children don't care about your income. They care about your input. They don't need the latest iPhone. They need your time. They don't need designer clothes. They need you to show up, to be present, to look them in the eyes and say, 'You matter more than my career, more than my hobbies, more than my own comfort.'" Several parents in the crowd were openly weeping now. "Veronica, if I marry you, I promise to give your daughters what money can't buy: presence, patience, and unconditional love. I promise to teach them that success without character is the ultimate failure, that a life spent serving yourself is a life wasted, that the legacy you leave isn't in your bank account, it's in the hearts you've touched." He got down on one knee in front of Veronica, mirroring her earlier position. "So, yes, I'll marry you, under those conditions. Will you marry me under those conditions?" Veronica laughed through tears. "Yes, 1,000 times yes." The crowd erupted in applause. But before they could embrace, a commotion arose from the edge of the square. "Wait! Wait!" An expensive suit pushed through the crowd, a man in his 50s, disheveled, panicked. His face was gaunt, his eyes hollow. It was Marcus Chen, David's former business partner who'd betrayed him. The crowd recognized him immediately. Gasps rippled through. Marcus was breathless, falling to his knees. David, please, I need to speak to you." The crowd turned hostile instantly. "That's the man who destroyed him! Get him out of here!" Rico stepped forward protectively. "You've got some nerve showing your face here." David held up his hand calmly. "Wait, let him speak." Silence fell. Marcus crawled forward, completely broken. "David, I've been looking for you for 2 years. I destroyed my own life after I destroyed yours. The guilt, it ate me alive. I spent all the money on drugs, gambling, trying to forget what I did. But I couldn't. Every night I saw your face, your family, what I took from you." He pulled out a crumpled envelope from his jacket. "I've written a confession. Everything. The fraud, the forged documents, all of it. I'm turning myself in to the police today. But first, I needed to find you, to tell you that I'm sorry, to tell you that watching you on the streets, still helping people, still being good, it destroyed me. Because I realized what I traded away for money. My soul." Marcus began to sob uncontrollably. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know you'll never forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. But I needed you to know you were right about everything, about what matters. I was wrong."
The crowd waited for David's response. Would he unleash years of anger, demand justice, refuse forgiveness? David stepped forward and did something no one expected. He helped Marcus to his feet and embraced him. His voice was thick with emotion. "Marcus, I forgave you years ago. Holding on to hatred was like drinking poison and expecting you to die. You took my money, my company, my reputation, but you couldn't take my character. And today, you've proven that even the most broken people can find redemption." Marcus sobbed into David's shoulder. "How? How can you forgive me?" "Because unforgiveness is a prison, brother, and I spent too many years locked in cages of my own making. I choose freedom. I choose grace. I choose to believe that people can change." He held Marcus at arm's length, looking him in the eyes. "You want to make this right? Don't turn yourself in out of guilt. Turn yourself in out of growth. Serve your time. Then spend the rest of your life using your mistakes to teach others. Your story isn't over, Marcus. It's just beginning. Marcus nodded, unable to speak. 2 police officers approached, not to arrest David this time, but to accompany Marcus to the station. Before he left, Marcus turned back. David, you're a better man than I'll ever be, but I'm going to try. I promise I'm going to try. That's all any of us can do, brother. As Marcus left with the officers, the crowd's applause began slowly, then swelled into a thunderous ovation, because they just witnessed something rare in this cynical world. True forgiveness, true grace, true strength. Rico tugged on David's shirt. "Teacher man, how did you do that? How did you forgive the man who ruined your life?" He knelt down to the boy's level. "Rico, unforgiveness is like carrying a heavy backpack full of rocks. Every day it gets heavier. Every day it hurts more. Forgiveness is setting down that backpack and walking free. It's not about letting someone off the hook. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of hate." He stood and addressed the crowd one more time. "This is what I want to teach Emma and Grace. This is what I want to teach all of you. Life will hurt you. People will betray you. Circumstances will break you. But you always have a choice. Become bitter or become better. Build walls or build bridges. Hold grudges or hold grace." He turned to Emma and Grace. "Girls, if I'm going to be your father, I need you to understand this. I will mess up. I will disappoint you. I will fail, because I'm human, and humans are gloriously flawed. But I promise you this, I will always show up. I will always choose you. And I will always teach you that character isn't about being perfect. It's about how you respond when you're imperfect." Emma stepped forward, hugging him tightly. "We don't need perfect. We need real. And you're the most real person we've ever met." Grace joined the embrace. "Welcome to our family, Dad." David broke down completely, holding these 2 girls who'd just given him something he thought he'd lost forever, the chance to be a father again. Veronica joined the embrace, wrapping her arms around all 3 of them, and standing in that square, surrounded by street children, billionaires, skeptics, and believers, they became a family. Not a perfect family, but a real one. 3 months later, the wedding was held in that same square, not in a cathedral or a 5-star hotel, but in the place where David had found his purpose and Veronica had found her heart. Chairs lined the square. Street children served as ushers in donated suits. Rico was David's best man. Maria and the other parents catered with homemade food. It was a beautiful collision of 2 worlds, Veronica's wealth and David's community, blending into something entirely new. The officiant spoke the traditional words. "Do you, David Morrison, take Veronica Hayes to be your lawfully wedded wife?" "I do." "And do you, Veronica Hayes, take David Morrison to be your lawfully wedded husband?" "I absolutely do. By the power vested in me, I now pronounce you husband and wife. You may kiss your bride." As they kissed, the square erupted in cheers. Children threw wildflower petals, cameras flashed, and for once, the media cut something genuinely beautiful. 6 months after the wedding, David stood in his new role, not just as a husband and father, but as the director of the Hayes Foundation's educational outreach program. Veronica had funded a massive initiative to provide free tutoring, mentorship, and resources to underprivileged children across the city. But David insisted on one condition. They wouldn't build fancy centers with their names on the buildings. They'd go into the streets, the parks, the communities where the kids already were. David addressed a group of volunteer tutors. "Remember, we're not here to save these kids. They don't need saving. They need opportunity. They need someone to believe in them. Your job isn't to teach them to be like you.
Your job is to help them become the best version of themselves. Emma and Grace worked alongside him 3 days a week after school. No special treatment, no shortcuts. They tutored, they cleaned, they served. One afternoon, Grace sat with a young girl who was struggling with math, growing frustrated. The girl cried out, "I'm too stupid for this. I'll never get it." Old Grace might have been annoyed or impatient, but new Grace, Grace who'd learned from David, responded differently. She spoke gently. "Hey, you're not stupid. You're learning. There's a difference. I used to think I was smart because things came easy to me. But my dad taught me that real intelligence is having the courage to keep trying when things get hard. And you, my friend, are incredibly intelligent." The girl looked up, hope flickering in her eyes. "Really? Really? Now, let's try this problem one more time. Together." Across the room, Emma worked with Marcus, the former bully, now a high school senior applying to colleges. He'd become like a brother to the Hayes family. "Emma, I got accepted to 3 colleges. Me, the kid everyone said would end up dead or in prison." Emma hugged him. "Marcus, I never doubted you for a second. You're going to do amazing things. It's because of your dad. Teacher Man believed in me when I didn't believe in myself." David watched from across the room, his heart full. Veronica appeared beside him, slipping her hand into his. "You've changed them. My daughters are different people now." "No, you changed them. You showed them what really matters. I'm just reinforcing the lesson. We make a good team. The best team." That evening, the Morrison Hayes family sat around the dinner table in their modest home. Not a mansion. Veronica had sold that. They lived in a comfortable but reasonable house in a diverse neighborhood, surrounded by families from all walks of life. Okay, family meeting time. What did everyone learn today? This was their nightly tradition. Not how was your day, but what did you learn? Grace spoke first. "I learned that patience is love in action. That girl I was tutoring, she finally got fractions, and watching her face light up was better than any shopping spree I've ever been on." Emma added, "I learned that second chances are real. Marcus got into college. 3 years ago, he was bullying kids. Today, he's going to study social work to help at-risk youth. People can change if someone believes in them." Veronica shared her insight. "I learned that my company can be a force for good, not just profit. We're implementing a new program to hire people with criminal records and give them real opportunities. It's going to cost us some corporate contracts, but it's worth it." Everyone turned to David. "I learned that my biggest failure became my greatest success. Losing everything taught me what truly matters, and now I get to pass that wisdom to the 3 most important women in my life." He paused, looking at each of them. "Girls, I want you to remember something. 20 years from now, you won't remember most of the meals we ate or the clothes you wore, but you'll remember the conversations we had, the values we lived, the people we helped. That's the inheritance I want to leave you. Not money, but meaning." Emma asked David, "Dad, can I ask you something? Do you ever regret your old life? The money, the success, all of it?" David considered carefully. "I regret how I lost it, the betrayal, the pain I caused my first family, but the loss itself, no, because it led me here, to this table, to this family, to this purpose. Sometimes God has to strip everything away to show you what you should have been holding on to all along." What should we have been holding on to? Each other, love, service, the opportunity to make someone else's life better. Those are the only things you get to keep forever. Everything else is temporary. As the family cleaned up dinner together, everyone pitched in. No hired help. Rico appeared at the door with his mother Maria. Rico was excited. Teacher man, I got accepted into the gifted program at my school, the one you told me to apply for." David scooped the boy up in a bear hug. "Rico, I knew you could do it. I'm so proud of you." Maria was emotional. "Mr. David, Mrs. Veronica, my son wouldn't be here without you. He was falling through the cracks. Now he's thriving."
"Maria, you raised an incredible boy. We just helped him see what you already knew was there." As more families began arriving, this had become a weekly gathering where the community came together. David pulled Veronica aside. You know what the crazy thing is? I thought I had it all figured out in my old life. The big office, the luxury cars, the corporate ladder. But I was climbing toward nothing. Now I have less stuff, but more life. Less money, but more wealth. Do you know what I mean? Veronica kissed him gently. I know exactly what you mean. You taught me that wealth isn't what you have, it's what you give. And we're giving our daughters something no trust fund could ever provide: purpose. Later that night, after everyone had left and the girls were asleep, David sat in his modest home office, once a garage, now converted into a tutoring space. On the wall hung his old business awards, next to crayon drawings from the street children, a perfect summary of his two lives. Veronica found him there, staring at a photograph of his first family, his ex-wife Sarah and his children Tommy and Lisa, now adults. Have you heard from them? David spoke softly. Sarah sent a letter last week. She saw the proposal video. She apologized, said she was wrong to abandon me, wrong to turn the kids against me. She wants to reconnect. How do you feel about that? Scared, hopeful, nervous. Tommy is 23 now. Lisa is 20. They're adults. I missed so much of their lives. But I also learned that it's never too late to rebuild a relationship if both people are willing. What will you do? I'll meet them. I'll apologize for my failures as their father. I'll tell them I love them. And I'll invite them into this new life. Not to replace Emma and Grace, but to expand our family. Because love multiplies. It doesn't divide. Veronica's eyes filled with tears. You're an amazing man, David Morrison. No, I'm a broken man who got a second chance, and I'm determined not to waste it. The final scene takes place 1 year after the proposal. The square where it all began has been transformed. A beautiful mural now covers one wall, painted by the street children, depicting David teaching, Veronica kneeling, and children learning. Below the mural, a plaque reads, "Love is not a feeling. It's a choice to show up, to serve, to sacrifice. Character is not inherited. It's built through struggle, humility, and grace. And family is not defined by blood or wealth. It's defined by who shows up when everyone else walks away." David stands in front of the mural with his entire blended family, Veronica, Emma, Grace, and now Tommy and Lisa, who have returned to his life. Rico and the other street children surround them. Maria and the community stand nearby. A reporter approaches with a cameraman. "Mr. Morrison, 1 year ago you were a homeless man. Today you're an inspiration to millions. What would you say to parents watching this?" David speaks clearly and with conviction. "I'd say this. Your children don't need you to be perfect. They need you to be present. They don't need your wealth. They need your wisdom. They don't need fancy things. They need your time, your attention, your love." He pauses, looking at his children, all 5 of them now. The greatest gift you can give your children is not a trust fund or a college degree. It's teaching them that their worth isn't in what they own, but in who they are. That success without character is failure. That a life spent serving yourself is a life wasted. And that love, real, sacrificial, show up even when it's hard love, is the only thing that lasts forever. Any final words? David looks directly into the camera. Parents, your children are watching. They're not listening to your words, they're watching your life. What are you teaching them? That money matters most? That status is everything? Or that character, kindness, and compassion are the real measures of success? Choose wisely, because 20 years from now, they won't remember your bank account, but they will remember whether you showed up. The camera pulls back, showing the entire community gathered in the square, rich and poor, broken and healed, lost and sound, all united by a simple truth. Love is not a feeling, it's a choice. David Morrison chose love when the whole world told him to choose wealth. Veronica Hayes chose character when the whole world told her to choose comfort. And together, they built a family, a community, and a legacy that money could never buy. In the end, we don't remember people for what they had. We remember them for who they were, for how they made us feel, for the lives they touched. David lost everything that didn't matter to gain everything that did. And in teaching his children that simple truth, he became the richest man in the world. Children don't remember our riches. They remember our presence. They don't remember our titles. They remember our time. Raise them with love, not luxury, with character, not cash, because the only inheritance that matters is the values you pass down and the hearts you touch along the way. 5 years later, the Hayes Foundation has expanded to 20 cities. Emma graduated college and started a nonprofit providing microloans to single mothers. Grace became a teacher, working in underserved communities. Tommy reconciled fully with his father and now runs the foundation's mental health initiatives. Lisa works as a social worker, specializing in family reunification. Rico graduated high school with honors and received a full scholarship to MIT. He visits David every Sunday without fail. Marcus finished his prison sentence, earned a degree in counseling, and now works alongside David, using his story of betrayal and redemption to help others find their way back from darkness. And David still spends his afternoons in the square, teaching children, not because he has to, but because he wants to. Because that's where he found his purpose. That's where he discovered that true wealth has nothing to do with your bank account and everything to do with the lives you touch. Veronica sits beside him most days, the billionaire CEO who learned that the best investment she ever made wasn't in stocks or real estate. It was in a homeless man who taught her what really matters. Their story became a global phenomenon. Books were written, movies were made, but David always insisted on one thing. This isn't a fairy tale. It's a lesson. A lesson that character matters more than currency, that presence matters more than presence, that the legacy you leave isn't measured in dollars, but in the hearts you change and the lives you touch. And that, above all, children don't need perfect parents. They need present ones.
If this story moved you, show some love with a like and subscribe to Parent Tales for more stories that matter to parents like us. Tell me in the comments where you're parenting from. I love knowing our Parent Tales family spans the world. Another beautiful, life-changing story is coming soon. Thank you for being part of this journey. Until next time, keep cherishing every precious moment with your little ones. See you soon in the next story.